John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on October the 25th in the year of our Lord 2025. That would be 10/25/25. Let's jump over here. Started a few minutes early because I've got a lot of information to go through. So we'll get through the introductions here. Jump over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is the video that we're watching right now, this live stream, episode 1726. So let's get into this. And watching right now, let me close out the live chat and click the show more button to expand that description box. And we have information from ACLJ Sekulow tonight, Ben Johnson, Vince Dow, and Wendy Bell. Okay, before we get into that, I do need to give some shout outs here to Z-Man13, just started following my channel. Rousing the Rabble, just started following my channel. Marie Vanderbrook just started following my channel. And Kobe13 just started following my channel. Rox Works 1 just started following my channel. John Barry Sr. just started following my channel. 17105 PH1 just started following. No, it's T710 C7 C. Excuse me, T7105 PH1 just started following my channel. RCS 920 just started following my channel. Mike Saxman just started following my channel. And V Millet 612 just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, Debbie BS reposted my video 1723. Sergi Marine just started commented on my episode, actually my Murtech Daily News Wrap-Up. Debbie BS and Big John Perez commented on my episode 1725. Debbie BS commented on my extra 509B. And Debbie BS also commented on my extra 510A, 510B, and 510C. And Debbie BS commented on my extra 510C. And that's pretty good extra on with Barry Cunningham. Here's how to fight the adverse effects of the jab. I'd advise you to or recommend that you watch that video. But at any rate, I really appreciate your comments. And I definitely appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. All right. Well, let's get into this. ACLJ Sekulow, American Center for Law and Justice. Shocking. Jack Smith just requested a public testimony. I wonder what that's all about. Let's let them talk about this, and we'll see what that gives us.
As you may remember, old Jimmy Jordan, he said, you know what? I think it's time we hear from the man himself, but let's do it behind closed doors. We'll release the transcripts, all of that. Let's make this a serious discussion. Hold on. Jack Smith says, I'll show up, but I want to do this in front of those cameras. I want to make this a spectacle. And you know what? As much as it's political and as much as it's hacky and as much as I think that this is how you avoid actually having to answer a lot of the big questions, kind of want to see it.
So what we have here is a response from the attorneys representing Jack Smith, and this is addressed to both Jim Jordan and Chuck Grassley. Chuck Grassley is famous for his oversight going after the Department of Justice a lot of times because he has a very soft spot for whistleblowers. He has made his whole career about protecting whistleblowers and getting accountability in the federal government. And this is a response to the request that was made last week by Jim Jordan to the former special counsel, Jack Smith, to appear in a transcribed interview. A little bit less formal than a deposition, but more like a deposition because it's called a transcribed interview. There's more room to negotiate what the topics are, the parameters, things of that nature. It's a little bit less formal, but it also tends to be a more serious investigative step. It's one stop before a full deposition. If you ask for that, you're not going forward with a subpoena yet, which they had not done. So we've been waiting to kind of see what the Jack Smith response would be, and now we have it. And I actually think for his attorneys and for Jack Smith, it's a very clever response. One, they're already starting to lay out, giving themselves kind of some roadblocks to the congressional oversight by saying that he's prepared to answer questions about the special counsel's investigation and prosecution, but requires assurance from the Department of Justice he will not be punished for doing so. He's no longer a member of the government, no longer special counsel. So he's saying, you can't punish me if I come talk to you. He also needs guidance from the DOJ regarding federal grand jury secrecy requirements and authorization on matters he may speak to regarding things, among which is Volume 2 of the final report, which is not publicly available. He also, in addition to provide full and accurate answers to the answers of Congress, to the questions of Congress, Mr. Smith requires access to the special counsel files, which he no longer has ability to access. So already starting to build this like, hey, I need assurances from DOJ. I need the permission from DOJ. I need access to all my old stuff if you really want me to. So already putting a burden on Congress and the government. But then here's how it ends it. With the guidance and access described above, Mr. Smith is available to testify in an open hearing at your earliest convenience. So not what Jim Jordan was asking for, but kind of flipping the script and saying, let's do this out in the open.
Let's go ahead and actually take a phone call about this. Tom, you're on the air.
Let me first say thank you for all that you do trying to expose this criminal behavior, because frankly, unless you hold these people accountable, they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So as to your question about should this be an open hearing or a closed hearing, this absolutely should be a closed-door hearing with transcripts taken, because the politicians are going to grandstand and showboat and try to obfuscate anything that is uncovered by Jim Jordan and the other Republicans. It's just disgusting what this guy has done. And the rest of the weaponization of the government, they need to be held accountable.
Tom, I tend to agree with you. Now, to Logan's point, I like the spectacle. I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see it. But in reality, and it is part of the thing. Logan, there's a reason people get tired of hearing about Jack Smith, because it's over and over and over again, because we keep seeing more and we know the corruption. But it is, as Tom points out, important to keep telling people about it, especially as new information comes out. And in reality, what Tom is saying is exactly correct. The reason that John Brennan was referred for criminal prosecution by Jim Jordan this week was because of things he said in a transcribed interview. If it were before Congress, where you have members of Congress you've never heard of trying to make a name for themselves, shouting at a witness on the stand, you don't normally get to the substance of stuff. You don't get in the nitty-gritty, the timelines, where you find out the real facts. And that's what I think Jim Jordan was wanting to do. We even said that. I like that they were not saying, you're coming before Congress in an open hearing and we're going to find out and get to the bottom of this. He was doing real investigative accountability oversight work by calling him in for a transcribed interview. I think it's extremely smart of the attorneys for Jack Smith and Jack Smith himself to ask for this to be an open hearing. Also, he's getting ahead of this by sending it to Chuck Grassley as well, because the request came from Jim Jordan. But he says right at the front, we have received Jim Jordan's October 14th letter and are aware of Chairman Grassley's interest in testimony from our client as well. So already getting ahead of it, trying to show to people that, look, we're willing to talk. We'll do this. We'll even do it in the open. We're not afraid. But in reality, they know what those turn into. And they know that with also this big list of requests, these are the type of things you would negotiate out in that transcribed interview format. Like, hey, here's what we need from DOJ. Here's the assurances we need. But they're putting all that in the open. It's a faux transparency, really, to throw people off and be like, look, he's got nothing to hide.
In theory, it worked how it should work. And these events, like you say, don't become just one person being yelled at or being able to really avoid the questions. Yes, in theory, this is the way that it should be done. I believe a lot of this should be transparent in front of the American people. You also don't have to worry about not understanding the tone. You can't be taken really out of context because everyone's heard it. You know what they're saying. It's like, a text message will never be as clear as a phone call. However, it's just simply not what we live in. It's not the reality we live in. So while, yes, the broadcaster in me and the curious American in me wants to see it happen in front of the public, I understand why it shouldn't. However, that should be something we need to look at getting better at as well. Maybe need to be electing better officials. So in these big hearings, it's not all grandstanding. That things can happen in front of the American people and not turned into everyone gets their minute for their ad later on, for their soundbite that they can put in a commercial to hopefully get reelected. We live in this constant cycle that sadly, we have to now fight back against these things happening in public. That sounds ridiculous. It feels like we should be able to say, have all of this out to where the American people can see it. You work for us, it's not the other way around. However, again, that's not the way things are. You have to look at reality. It's like the idea of war. Do I like war? No. Do I wish there was no war? Yes. I wish that we could say that as someone who is nonviolent and would like to push anti-violence, that there should be no war in the world. However, that's not realistic. There is war in the world. And because there is war in the world, you can't just live in a world of being a complete pacifist who says, well, I'm an anti-war person. I don't believe in war. It's like, you don't have to believe in it. It's happening. We can get to a better place, but that's going to be a long-term thing. I understand why Jim Jordan wants to have a serious conversation. One that can be also, like you said, somewhat, it's not more casual. It's obviously more serious, but it can be treated a bit more, less combative.
Well, and as well, another thing that I take away from this, from the attorneys representing Jack Smith, is if you remember back when Bob Mueller testified right after the Mueller report, he didn't know where things were in it. He was able to get around, and at the end of the day, didn't really say much of anything in an open hearing. I feel like a lot of these requirements, whether it be, guidance on federal grand jury secrecy requirements, things like that, the DOJ can't waive things like that. He wants assurances he won't be punished. He's already building the case for in an open hearing of saying a lot of nothing. Whereas behind closed doors, there probably would be more opportunity, assurances that, and a lot of times those transcripts aren't made public immediately, or sections maybe, or they may be redacted, that if it were behind closed doors, he would have a lot less escape routes. But when it's on TV, is be like, I can't put this out publicly, or even I don't have access to special counsel files. Okay, you've got them and you have a week to go through it. Gives you a lot of opportunities to be like, I don't recall that. I don't recall what you're referencing. Could you get me a copy? I'll get back to you in writing. It's a very savvy way to get before Congress and before cameras and say a lot of nothing. I think the other factor here is that what Congress is now looking at, last night, Chairman Grassley did release some documents that were given to him by the FBI that showed Attorney General Merrick Garland, the Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, as well as the FBI Director Chris Wray, signed off on Arctic frost investigation. So a lot of what they may be getting from Jack Smith is what was being shared with them. What did they know? They may be called to testify now as former government employees. They also can't say as much because they aren't in the government anymore. But it makes it a lot more interesting when you see that the FBI is discovering more files, turning them over to Congress, that is giving us a more full picture of what was going on at this time, all while Jack Smith is saying, I want to talk in public.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Sekulow program.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. Let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from American Center for Law and Justice. I am following their channel. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and see what's next with Benny Johnson. Bill Clinton health scare stuns audience. Stop speaking mid-speech. Okay. Well, let's check this out here.
What's up, guys? Benny. Politics is a profession of liars, and so the people that often rise to the top of that profession are the most successful liars, and that perfectly is true when it comes to the Clintons. A family that literally lied their way into the White House, were prosecuted for their lies, impeached for their lies, and ladies and gentlemen, they continue their lies this day. President Trump said that he'd put Hillary in jail. We await for that promise to be kept. Maybe it will be. But of all the lies that the Clintons have told on a professional political landscape, are any as egregious as this? This is what Hillary Clinton's social media avatar is. It's the cover of her book, her newest book about her life. That's what she writes about, is how smart she is and how wise she is and how incredible her life is and how stupid you are. Anyway, this is what Hillary Clinton wants you to think that she looks like. Is that true? Well, why don't we check a recent video of Hillary Clinton and see if they match, okay? Here we go.
Global initiative started by my husband will work closely with SEWA and with our partners.
What the hell is this?
The American India Foundation, the Adrian Arsht Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center.
The more you look at it, the more you realize that Hillary doesn't actually look like whatever the hell this is. It must be AI, airbrushed. Just giving the Kardashians a run for their money. She looks a lot more like George Soros, right? It's like, it really, like, that's what this is what you've morphed into. This is what Hillary Clinton has become. Isn't it the same? They're like the same, right? From this, all right, to this. Yeah, it's the same thing. Ugh. Goodness gracious. I mean, the point is that, like, not necessarily that Hillary Clinton is hideous. That is also the case, but that the Clintons have been lying for their entire careers, but it's catching up to them. And Bill Clinton is not only looking really wobbly these days, but is also traveling with some pretty heavy medical gear. He's been very unhealthy for a very long time, and Bill Clinton is now traveling with a defibrillator, and a new video out shows Bill Clinton to be quite unstable. People are very worried about him. Bill Clinton seen with a defibrillator at the Hamptons airport, sparking new health concerns. Looking kind of gaunt and skinny. The Epstein news cycle probably not the best for him. Hillary not looking any better for the wear either. Jeez. Oh, man. Bill, your girlfriend. Bill Clinton with a defibrillator. Health questions explode. Health records included quadruple bypass, stents, collapsed lung surgery, sepsis treatment, repeated hospital stays, and he recently stumbled on a New York sidewalk.
Hillary, can you sign, please?
Here you go. You can watch here. Bill Clinton nearly fall over. He's walking. He wobbles and can barely keep himself. He needs to, like, use a post to keep himself upright. Yeah, not looking great, dudes. Bill Clinton health scares abound. The recent video that is making all the rounds, Bill Clinton looks frailer than ever during shocking gala speech, where onlookers reveal that he's kind of like Joe Biden now. Sad to watch. Worrying signs, and the audience is stunned. Ailing former President Bill Clinton's son guest at a glitzy New York City gala with multiple obvious issues that suggested he was increasingly poor health. The 79-year-old wore a Band-Aid on his nose, visibly shook as he turned the pages of his speech and made at least one uncomfortably long pause during the Headstrong to Support Free Mental Health Care for Veterans event on Wednesday. It's unclear why Clinton was sporting a Band-Aid, although he's previously been treated for a precancerous lesion on the same body part. The frail former commander-in-chief spoke in low, halting voice as he handed out the award to a Navy SEAL. An onlooker who was at the event told the Daily Mail, "It was sad to watch. The room was dead silent when he spoke because of his low voice. He was speaking so slowly. Nobody knew what he was going to say. It was, anyway, let's go ahead and go to tape. Here's what it looked like."
After he got out of the Navy, he went into the Secret Service and did a whole lot of other things that were important. I admire that he was really proud that his son became a SEAL. He could have quit after what he went through in the military. He could have quit after what he went through with the Secret Service.
You know, it's amazing. Like, he and President Trump are the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it wild? The differences. You can see here the massive bandage on his nose. An old person would have something like that on his face if he, again, had a cancerous lesion that was taken off. Or perhaps fell. You know, a lot of old people fall and they bust up their nose. This would be something that you would hit. Joe Biden constantly had bruises all over his face. And yikes, man. Yeah, you can hear him halting and not really able to make super clear remarks. People were worried. Again, you can see the massive bandage on his nose. And again, if you're looking like this as you're walking, you know, if you're walking and you're like barely able to stand upright. I'm not trying to dunk on the guy. I mean, I guess like everyone gets older, but what I'm trying to say is that, you know, we all like, I guess like some of us live out past our prime. This is such a sad video of Bill Clinton trying to like walk into a bookstore and like, and Zoomer kids are just like, get out of my way, right? Look at this. They don't even stop. They don't know who the hell this guy is. Nobody does, actually. Bill Clinton's like trying to, you know, cause a stir, cause a crowd, get noticed. Everyone's like, get out of my way. Like this dude's like, got my kid. I got to get places. I got to do things. No one cares. No one cares, dude. This is Bill Clinton who's been let out of his prison sentence. This is Bill Clinton's prison sentence.
These people will stop at nothing. And yes, the Russians helped them last time. The Russians are helping them now. And you cover the White House. You know that the White House has said, don't brief the Congress. Don't even tell them in classified settings what the Russians are doing this time.
Could you imagine look at poor Bill Clinton. Could you imagine that? I know Bill Clinton probably will never go.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that. And I hate that, you know, he's showing signs of age. I mean, he's just 7 years older than I am, 6.5 years older than I am. But, you know, and as Benny said, he's the same age as Donald Trump. They're the same age. I don't see Trump. I know he's different than what he was his first term in office. You know, here again, he's 8 years older than what he was his first term in office. So, or 6 years older. But at any rate, I can understand why his mental capacity has diminished after living with a person like this. But at any rate, let me go ahead and click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Benny Johnson. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and see what Vince Dow has to say regarding Gavin Newsom backtracks on fatal migrant truck crash as DOT opens federal investigation. Isn't that amazing? Let me go ahead and pull the screen up here. It's utterly amazing that California, and you know, I don't see any major backlash to this guy. But let's take a listen and see what that's all about.
Donald Trump caused the car crash.
Get it back here for you. Yeah. There we go.
It's day like today. I want folks to know we have your back, and we'll continue to come back and do what we can to protect our diverse communities, to protect the spirit that defines the best of this city and our state.
A few moments later.
Breaking news, we have just learned the truck driver accused of causing a deadly chain reaction crash in Ontario was here in the U.S. illegally. Investigators say Jashanpreet Singh was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence of drugs and vehicular manslaughter. He was an Indian national and entered the U.S. in 2022. 3 people were killed yesterday on the 10 freeway. In all, 8 cars were involved, and we'll, of course, continue to follow this story throughout the night.
So just a few days ago, it was this week, We did a video covering the massive problem of migrant and illegal alien truck drivers in this country and the massive carnage and havoc that they are reaping on our roads. Of course, this is an issue the Trump administration is currently trying to address, and Democrat state governments like California and Gavin Newsom are fighting back and saying that is racist. But folks, this should be a fairly common sense and easy issue to understand. After all, frankly, this is not even an immigration debate in itself. I mean, there's the wider picture there, but let's forget even politics for a second and use very simple common sense. You're talking about people who, in many cases, just got here from other countries where they either have different traffic laws than the United States or more frequently basically have no traffic laws. Many of these people do not even speak English, so they can't read the road signs. And what do you think the logical outcome therefore is going to be of handing these people commercial driver's licenses and massive big rig trucks? It's unfortunate, but again, it makes very basic sense. People are going to die. And Americans have died. And liberals and Democrats in their suicidal empathy, and that's literally what it is, like literally suicidal, not metaphorically suicidal, physically suicidal empathy, still sit there and try to fight Trump on this very basic policy. So I encourage you to go watch our prior video on this because it kind of serves as a useful prequel to everything we're about to discuss today. But just to really briefly recap here, we talked about that, right? Real evidence of these people causing crashes, not because it was like a freak accident, but because they just simply have no regard for the road. Secondly, we talked about what the Trump administration is trying to do about it, whether that's mandating English proficiency, you have to speak English in order to receive a CDL, or further going on and stating that only U.S. citizens and permanent residents are able to get a CDL, right? No more truck driving for asylum seekers, illegal aliens, temporary migrants, all of these types of people. And then lastly and finally, the way in which California and Gavin Newsom were trying to obstruct off of all of that. Well, specifically, while talking about all of this, we mentioned the one case of a guy named Jashanpreet Singh. This is a guy who was in the news earlier this week after he caused yet another massive big rig truck crash in Ontario, California. Apparently, it was on the 10. And if you watch this video, it's just insane. You know, traffic is coming to a slowdown. He never hits the brakes, never stops, doesn't even seem like he's looking, bashes through like 3 different cars at once, even hits the big rig in front of him. Thus far, 3 Americans are tragically dead. But literally, I kid you not, okay, this is how this type of stuff goes. Minutes after we posted that video, it was confirmed by authorities the guy was an illegal alien. So yet another example, right? There was the one back in Florida a couple months ago where in a case where he couldn't speak English. And by the way, that was very relevant because he turned into an official use only kind of thing, trying to do a U-turn, but you're not allowed to even use that if you're not the police or the state workers, right? He turns there, gets the trailer stuck in the middle all the way across this like 3-lane highway. Someone who is driving a car very close to that barrels into it. Guess what? That's an American family dead. Here you have more, right? 3 Americans dead. And yet again, what is the Gavin Newsom administration doing about it? They're still apparently, according to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, issuing these CDLs to illegal aliens, despite everything we see that it keeps on causing, number one. And then number 2, apparently trying to put all the blame for this on the federal government, even though, again, they're the ones not complying with federal regulation. But we'll tell you all about this here today. And again, let this be said, this is a prime example. All of the fault here obviously goes to one person. That is Gavin Newsom, and that is everyone around him. That is all of these Democrats who think, oh, mandating to speak English and actually being able to drive, that's racist, you know, and we've actually covered on this channel like actual videos of liberals saying those types of things. So we'll tell you all about this, guys. Again, major update on what we've been talking about with the migrant truck drivers. So that said, guys, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It's not only the best way to support our work, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, here's the reporting from KTLA that, again, broke minutes after we started talking about this. I guess we were ahead of the curve in some regards, but the driver of a tractor trailer accused of being under the influence, it was believed he was on drugs or alcohol or something, and causing a chain reaction crash. that killed 3 people in Ontario, California this week is not a legal resident of the United States. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed on Thursday. Oh, big surprise, right? I said in the last video, I was like, that guy doesn't really sound like a legal citizen, does he, right? Why are they not sharing his immigration status yet? Well, what they called a Yuba City man in this case turns out it was not a Yuba City man. It's a illegal migrant man from India. Go figure. Jashanpreet Singh, 21 of Yuba City, not of Yuba City, that's not where he's from, folks, was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence and vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. Now, the dramatic dash cam footage that some of you may have seen on the internet shows exactly what we described. But, quote, the CHP, the California Highway Patrol, said the westbound traffic came either to a slow or a stop. And yes, this Freightliner commercial vehicle did not stop, which caused a chain reaction crash. Again, literally, he's going so fast here. It's not just he hits one car. It's like 3, like boom, 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 a chain reaction because the guy is not even freaking paying attention under the influence while driving a big rig truck, you know? What else can I say, by the way, to all the normal citizens of this country? Like, just be really careful when you're on the road. Like, you have to drive, frankly, terrified of these people, thanks to the Biden administration. And again, suicidal liberal empathy. And let me just say, we don't have to live like this. We really don't, right? If we just stopped letting the most insane and like self-destructive members of our society run the governments of formerly the White House, a lot of the federal government, a lot of state governments. Like, if we were ever just allowing normal people to be in charge, none of this would ever happen. You'd still have a country, right? But of course, they turn around and say, we're the radicals. I'm so sick of that, frankly, right? Like, everything we believe is extremely moderate compared to these people, right? This is the party who believes illegal aliens who can't even speak English and are on drugs should be driving the big rig trucks. They believe in opening the border, for instance, to 10 million people like they did under Biden. They believe if you get arrested 12, 15 different times, you should not be put back in jail. You should just be allowed to keep on terrorizing people. And we know this. We know all of this because this is exactly what they do when they have power. And yet they turn around and say, you're far right. You're a racist. You're a Nazi. No. We're just normal, actually. The political divide in this country in 2025, folks, is actually very simple. It is violent, insane, radical Marxists versus normal people. That is the only divide that matters in politics. Okay, you can talk about, but this belief, that you want to explain it, right? You want to explain left versus right? That's all it is nowadays. Very simple. We're the moderates. We're the normal people. I'm sorry. I refuse to be labeled a radical by people who think this is okay. We're not. We're normal. We're normal. You're not going crazy. Like, you never changed, many of you guys. No, they are the ones who are literally insane. Anyways, the DHS said on Thursday that Singh is a criminal alien from India. Singh first entered the United States. Oh, guess when? Guess when, ladies and gentlemen? 2022. Who was president, yes, through the southern border and was released under President Joe Biden's administration. So yet another case of a Biden migrant causing murder and manslaughter on the streets of the United States of America. And by the way, not only was he released into this country under the Biden administration, totally a legitimate asylum seeker, I'm sure, by the way. You know, you ever wonder why the so-called asylum seekers are all the fighting age males? It's kind of strange. But, you know, secondly, was also given the work authorization from the Biden administration that you'll learn about here in a second. So anyways, DHS Secretary Assistant Tricia McLaughlin said, quote, "It is a terrible tragedy that 3 innocent people lost their lives due to the reckless open border policies that allowed an illegal alien to be released in the United States and drive an 18-wheeler on America's highways. This accident follows a disturbing trend of illegal aliens driving 18-wheeler trucks and semi-trucks on America's roads. And by the way, just last week, we talked about this in the video, you had another illegal alien driving in Indiana that also caused a fatal crash. You know, so it goes on and on here. So you heard all of those details. Now, it's a very simple question and answer. Who's to blame for this? Obviously, it's Joe Biden, who allowed this guy into the country, released him into the country, and then gave him work authorization. And it is secondly, Governor Gavin Newsom, who thought it was a great idea to give this obviously unqualified person and illegal a commercial driver's license under the rules of his state. Logically, though, what do you think he's doing? Well, he just put out a statement, apparently, according to Bill Malugin, actually denying that any of this is his fault, which is really interesting because we'll show you in a second, according to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who brought the receipts, no, indeed, it is his fault. But anyways, here's the excuse from Gavin Newsom, who, by the way, I'd like to point out, we just talked about in the last video, this is the very governor, and basically the only governor in America, who is seriously trying to fight hard against this new rule about mandating that only citizens and permanent residents be allowed to have CDLs. So while he's doing that, while he's actively obstructing and refusing to comply with this federal regulation, you have him at the same time claiming it's not his fault. Yeah, those two things are not that compatible. But that said, here's what he had to say. Gavin Newsom, quote, "This is a tragic situation. And as with every tragedy over the last 10 months, Secretary Noem has ordered Secretary Duffy to look for every opportunity to manipulate the facts." Oh, illegal alien? Very obvious, manipulating the facts apparently to score cheap political points. But the federal government needs to look within before they cast the blame outside. The federal government approved and renewed this individual's federal employment authorization multiple times, which allowed him to obtain a commercial driver's license in accordance with federal law. Saying further would further refer you to the California Transportation Agency, who can assist with your inquiry. Well, again, I would point out, first of all, you notice that they use the word federal and not Trump because it is the Biden administration who gave him that work authorization. But secondly, as Sean Duffy here points out, that's not even true. They did not comply with federal law. Because while, yes, he did have the work authorization a couple of months ago, the Trump administration put in the new rule to state, yes, if you are illegally in the country, actually not even illegally, if you're just in the country on a non-permanent basis, you cannot have a CDL. Guess what California did to this very driver last week? Now that that rule and regulation was already in place, right? That is the federal law. As Sean Duffy points out, California upgraded this killer's license last week when my stricter rules were already in place. They ignored the emergency action, and now 3 people are dead. So again, you cannot just sit here and blame it on the federal law, even the Biden federal law, because we told you not to do this. And it'd be one thing to say, oh, well, maybe the CDL hadn't been renewed yet, or, it's like on a temporary, but the new rule, it's not in effect. No, it was already in effect. And California saw that, flagrantly disregarded it, upgraded his CDL anyway, and then literally 1 week later, what does he go do? Kill people on the roads of California. Take a listen here as Sean Duffy further explains, saying that California knew the rules, they said they were going to comply, but they literally just didn't and upgraded this foreigner's license anyway. And as a result, right, Newsom lies, people die. That's so true.
Had Gavin followed our rules per DOT, this guy would have never been on the road. 3 more people would be alive. So we're doing this because we're seeing a lot of foreigners, those who can't speak English, on our roadways, and it's harming the American citizens who want to be safe as they're bringing their kids to school, they're going out for groceries, or they're going to work. And so what we've done to start, we pulled $40 million, John, from California on one issue. But they're at the cusp of losing another $160 million. I don't want to take their money, but we will hold their money back if they don't comply with these really important rules. So Gavin Newsom has to get on board.
Yeah, well, again, this is directly on Gavin Newsom because you refuse to comply with this policy. Now, I want to further show you what the excuse officially was from the California State Transportation Agency, because this is the timeline they're trying to use as the justification to why none of this is our fault. Actually, it's like Donald Trump. Donald Trump caused the car crash, guys. Donald Trump's the one who opened the border, apparently, You doesn't blame everything on him. So here's what they said. On background, as a reminder, state rules and regulations for CDLs must be consistent with the standards set by federal law, including new federal regulations. Well, again, you didn't do that. They're not consistent with new federal regulations, but okay. Their excuse is that the federal government approved Mr. Jashanpreet Singh's employment authorization to August of 2030. They also extended the EAD from April 2025 to October 2026, and then to August 2030. Okay, so basically claiming, but he had the work authorization in the United States. But again, That's still not an excuse, as Sean Duffy has already explained.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. I mean, it's amazing. Now, I would think, I'm not a lawyer, but I would think that they could track down who the person was that made that approval, okay, to upgrade his license. And I would think that they could lay some responsibility of this accident on that person. If not the family, if not the federal government, I would think the family members of the people who died could get a lawyer to do this. I mean, when you have a big truck accident, an 18-wheeler semi-truck accident, my brother-in-law is a truck driver, and he was telling me a situation where a truck was driving down the street, going through a traffic signal. He had the green light. Somebody ran a red light and ran into him. Okay? Well, now, trucks these days, they have all kinds of metering on them. And they found out that he had been speeding down the interstate, a while back, before he even got to this intersection. And they argued in court that if he had not been speeding, that truck driver had not been speeding, he never would have been at that intersection at the time this person ran the red light. So therefore, the court, jury, whatever, found the truck driver liable for that accident because he was speeding somewhere else down the road. Saying that, if he hadn't been speeding, he wouldn't have been there when this guy ran the red light. So therefore, because he was speeding, it's his fault. Okay? Well, by the same logic, you would think that they could find out who signed off on this guy and find that person liable. And I would think they could ask that person, okay, who gave you the authority to do this? And go right on up the line. Oh, this person gave you the authority? Okay. Then go to that person. Who told you to give this person the authority to do that? It'll go to the next person. They were liable too. Because had that not happened, those two people would not be dead right now. I don't know. It's amazing the two-tier justice system we have here in the United States. I want to give you a little ad read here from Rumble Premium Perplexity. Pretty good information, actually.
Looking for smarter ways to browse and enjoy your favorite content without ads? Get the Perplexity Pro bundle with Rumble Premium for just $19.99 a month when you sign up before December 31st, normally at $29.99 value.
With Rumble Premium, you'll get an ad-free viewing experience across all your devices and access to exclusive premium content, no interruptions, just the videos and streams you love, anytime, anywhere. Plus, Perplexity Pro boosts your productivity with unlimited research, unlimited uploads, exclusive member perks, and access to the latest and most advanced AI models for faster, smarter answers every day.
Save over 30% on this powerful bundle. Head to rumble.com/premium before December 31st to sign up and unlock your premium experience.
All righty, there you have it there, folks. Okay, let's move on with Wendy Bell Radio. Who is more illegal? Now, she dropped this actually yesterday. I shared a little bit of her video yesterday, but this is the bottom of her second hour that I want to share with you because she has, I like to share Wendy Bell because she always has fantastic information. So with that being said, let's go to the party.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Wendy Bell radio program is on the clock. I am so enjoying whatever like the soup du jour is, right? Whatever the outrage du jour is for the left and the media. It's like they believe they're sort of like toddlers. You know, a toddler will do something, and if their back is to you and they don't think you can see them, they believe they're kind of invisible, kind of like the bank robbers with lemon juice on their face. Nobody will be able to see us if we squirt lemon juice. Okay, sometimes you can't fix stupid, but here's your media every single day falling for it. Trump just cranks it up. He loves to do that. He loves to poke the bear. He loves to feed into their ire. He knows he owns them and that they hate him with such a venomous passion, and he delights in it. Yeah. He's mystified, I think, because he's like, look, I never did anything to you idiots. I came down an escalator with my beautiful supermodel wife and my multi-billion-dollar Trump Tower with my fantastic family around me, with gobs of wealth all around me. I have no idea why you wouldn't like me. We've got a major jealousy problem in this country, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know a true liberal out there who's pleased with their lot in life, who's super happy with where they are, who don't like glare at people across the street, whose lawns look nicer, who they perceive have more of an advantage than they? These people love to be the people who are victims or something to gripe about. This is Hakeem Jeffries. This is such a shame. The number 2 Democrat in the House, or the number 1 Democrat in the House of Representatives, is such a little child and such a poor communicator. And he just sounds like a brat when he literally warns these people and these companies that have decided to help fund the construction of the White House ballroom, not for President Trump per se, but for America, for diplomatic reasons, for social reasons, for any number of reasons. Hakeem Jeffries is like, we're going to find you. We're going to come for you. I'm like, it's a ballroom, dude. The Department of Homeland Security found like 15 missing children yesterday, and your boxers are all twisted over Trump's ballroom. It's because they know the end is near and it's desperation. Here's Hakeem Jeffries.
More likely, this is part of what Donald Trump has been doing since day one of his presidency, running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country, and probably soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all of this is going to happen.
Donations for what? This is not his. It's for the White House. He's going to be leaving in 3 years. Okay, and you know what? I'll bet you dollars to donuts that he's not going to take that with him. He's going to leave it there at the White House when he leaves the White House. Okay, so what the hell is this guy talking about? This is one of those WTF moments, okay?
Have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. Okay. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable no matter how long it takes. That's going to be the reality of the situation. And that's our warning to all of these people participating in this scheming to manipulate taxpayer dollars and, of course, to destroy the people's house. The White House belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
First of all, Hakeem, there are no taxpayer dollars being used, and you know better. But to go out and to issue not even a veiled threat, but just a threat to the people who go along with, you get a little flavor, don't you, of the blackmail and the bribery and the bullying that is the United States government? Isn't that gross? That's gross. That is the guy who would be Speaker of the flippin' House. What? Look, I don't vote Democrat because I don't see the world through Democrat lenses. I don't agree with the priorities. I don't think they're believable. I think they've had an opportunity and they've fudged everything up. I see everything they touch turned absolute pot.
Yes.
I'm against all of their sanctimonious do-goodery of idiocy. We're such good people while they torch not just your money, but projects and do all sorts of crazy stuff behind the scenes that they really don't want you to know about. But I would never say, as the number one Republican in the House of Representatives, we're going to come for you if you cooperate with this president. If you're a private business or otherwise, or a private donor, and you're going to help this president put together this ballroom, we're coming for you. Ew. Par for the course. Okay? That is the culture. Just ask Madison Cawthorn.
That would be just one more reason not to let these Democrats freaking ever get back in charge again. All right? Because it's hard telling how berserk they are going to be if they ever have control of the House or the Senate or, heaven forbid, the presidency. They cannot. If you're a Republican, you need to get out and vote every single time you can. And if you're not, you need to register as a Republican and get out and vote every single time you can. Right? To keep these dumbasses, these lunatics, out of office.
Ask George Santos. Ask Matt Gaetz. All of them will tell you. So the East Wing, and I want to read you this from NBC News. The East Wing of the White House was fully demolished on Thursday, a White House official said, as construction pushes forward to build President Trump's new ballroom. Isn't that funny? It's President Trump. It's not the White House's.
No.
It's not America's, right? It's not the people's. It's President Trump.
Yeah.
The project is a significant expansion from what Trump said over the summer. Really. It won't interfere with the current building, Trump said on July 31st. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. Trump said Wednesday that the project would cost roughly $300 million, paid for by donors, including himself. And he also said it's going to hold up to 999 people. It is the biggest change to the White House exterior since FDR expanded the East Wing, which traditionally houses the office of the First Lady, in 1942. Okay, so it's been 80-odd years, right? Trump hosted a dinner in the East Room on Wednesday to thank corporations and individuals who contributed. And it's interesting. NBC has to report that Comcast, the parent company of NBC Universal, is one of the donors. Oh, oops, right? So here is the list of donors to the new ballroom provided by the White House. It's not clear how much each corporation or individual contributed. See, Hakeem Jeffries isn't worried about who's funding Antifa. He's not worried about George Soros and the billions, well, at least hundreds of millions of dollars that he's infused into various, top prosecutor positions, attorney general positions, et cetera, et cetera. He's more worried about who's building a freaking ballroom, right? That is of no expense to us. So here's the list. This is who Hakeem Jeffries is apparently gunning for. Altria Group, Amazon, Amazon, Apple, Booz Allen Hamilton, Caterpillar, Coinbase, Comcast, Hard Rock International, Google, HP, Lockheed Martin, Meta, Micron Technology, Microsoft, Next Era Energy, Palantir Technologies, Ripple, Reynolds American, T-Mobile, Tether, Union Pacific Railroad, J. Pepe and Amelia Fanjul, Adelson Family Foundation, Stefan E. Brody, Betty Wold Johnson Foundation, a couple other individuals, the Lutnick family, the Laura and Isaac Perlmutter Foundation, a couple other individuals, blah, blah, blah. Some big names in tech, some big names in AI, some big names. You think they all came to the White House to sit around Donald Trump and he wasn't going to put their fingers on a document that said, indeed, how much do you want for that new ballroom? Says Mark Zuckerberg, who wants desperately for Donald Trump to forget what Mark Zuckerberg did to him. I'll give you $10 million. This is Donald Trump wheeling and dealing. He has been making a deal wherever he has gone. His trip across the Middle East, across Saudi Arabia, across all of these countries, the Emirates, all of them. How much do you want to participate? How much do you want to have in on this golden age of America? Because we're going to be building some stuff. You could be a part of it if you want. It's going to cost, but it'll be good for you. Absolutely, Mr. President. Where can I sign on the dotted line? So here's Hakeem Jeffries. He wants to go after these donors. Interesting. Well, I want you to hear President Trump asked about this military shortfall, right? So we've already found money in the trade revenues that have been brought in to fund the military for October. Well, what about November? President Trump speaks up. This is the circle in which this president operates, right? And Hakeem Jeffries, in his wildest dreams, could never even come close to knocking on the door of it. Listen.
And a friend of mine, talking about donors, a friend of mine, a man that's great. I'm not going to use his name unless he lets me do it. Susie can tell you about this, but he called us the other day and he said, I'd like to contribute any shortfall you have because of the Democrat shutdown. I'd like to personally contribute any shortfall you have with the military, because I love the military and I love the country, and any shortfall, if there's a shortfall, I'll contribute it. And today he sent us a check for $130 million.
Can you share who that is?
I would love to tell you he doesn't really want the recognition, if you want to know the truth, but he gave us a check for $130 million.
And that's going to go to the
which was sort of a shortfall, yeah. And that's going to go to the military, yeah.
And what's your message?
Which was sort of a shortfall, $130 million. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, nodding, sitting next to the president at this roundtable discussion. Yes. Yes. Hakeem Jeffries, you will never scratch the surface of that club. Period. Because they, I think, understand what this president is doing. Making America great again really has very little to do with Donald Trump. It has everything to do with you. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program for today's FAFO, in today's installment of Fart Around and Find Out, we can tell you about Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Kind of stepped in a poo sandwich. He's desperately trying to get it off his shoes right now. It's not looking good, Doug. I'll tell you why next.
All right, let's move this forward here. Get past our commercial break. Yeah, and see what that's all about. I just love the information she gives out. She has such a great presentation. I wish I had half the presentation that she has.
So you have to love the heels of this bit unstable Hakeem Jeffries. Super angry, right? Accusing President Trump of running a quid pro quo operation under the guise of a White House ballroom. Like, come on. What are you going to do next? Like, criminalize puppies? Like, what are we doing here? By the way, Hakeem, I don't know if you remember CEFC. Do you remember that name? China? Do you remember, I don't know, Burisma? How much money Burisma, the quid pro? How about everything the Clinton Crime Family Foundation had to do with Haiti? Anybody hear ever from anybody in Haiti whose life is better today because of the Clinton Global Initiative of Suck? I don't know. I could be wrong. But I'm not so sure you want to open the door on grifting and you want to point fingers at people who are building a free ballroom for the residents of the United States where our government leaders can host state dinners and diplomats from around the world. Hakeem, you schmuck. Okay? Now, only slightly outdone by Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, Canada. Oh, I know he really probably thought he was sticking it to Trump pretty good when he used AI, using Ronald Reagan's voice, to talk about how it's ridiculous that Canada should have any tariffs, that there should be some neighborly goodness between these two countries, and we should be able to do whatever we want free of charge. Why do we have to pay tariffs? Well, Doug, note to self, you probably don't want to air your grievances and dirty laundry with an ad using one of America's most cherished presidents, because that is the FA, and coming around the bend is the FO. Here's the ad he dropped.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, It looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Wow. Well, President Trump, not a huge fan of that. He abruptly called off trade negotiations with Canada on Thursday after he saw that. After the Ontario government funded an anti-tariff ad campaign featuring the voice of President Ronald Reagan. The Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. President Trump wrote in a late-night Truth Social post. Oh, the president said the $75 million ad, what, was made to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts in cases challenging Trump's authority to issue tariffs. Wow. Tariffs are very important to the national security, the economy of the USA, Trump argued, based on their egregious behavior. This is worse than your parents getting a phone call from your teacher, right? Hello. Is this Mrs. Bell? Yes, it is. You sphincter so quickly when you're on the receiving end of that phone call. What did you do? No. This is exactly what Donald Trump is doing to Ontario, to Doug Ford. Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated, he declared. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He just fired them, essentially. Oh, my goodness. Ontario Premier Doug Ford unveiled the 1-minute ad last week. He uses audio of Reagan suggesting tariffs don't work, blah, blah, blah. It's unreal. The ad is airing on Newsmax, Bloomberg, Fox News, Fox Sports, NBC, CBS, CNBC, ESPN, ABC, and local stations in the United States. Who do you think is funding $75 million? As Trump noted, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute accused the government of Ontario of misrepresenting the 40th president's remarks. The ad campaign uses selective audio and video of President Ronald Reagan delivering his radio address to the nation on fair and free trade, dated April 25th, 1987. Yeah, we're done. No more talks. Lights out. Bye-bye. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, wait a minute, there's a homeless industrial complex in Seattle. People would use homelessness as a grift. Get out. Buckle up. It's next.
All right. Great stuff. Great stuff. Let me click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell. I am following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. And let me go ahead and get back here to the main screen here, or the description box where all the information is. And I've seen a lot of chats saying, you know, how much they like Wendy, not just tonight, but a lot of times when I share Wendy stuff. I have the link to her video that I just shared with you right here in the description box, if you'd like to watch more of that. I also, for all the videos that I shared, I have the link to the channel where Wendy Bell or Vince Dow or Benny Johnson. So if you want to click on that link, if you're not following her channel, by all means, this is the way to do it. Right now, today, she posted Pet Talk with Pet Doc, but I wanted to share the information from yesterday's video because I found that to be a little bit more interesting than the Pet Talk with Pet Doc video that they dropped today. Okay, so getting back here, again, these videos that I share with you are videos that do come directly from the producers that create them. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out. I'm just putting together a nice little neat package for you so that you can have an alternative to the lies and propaganda from the mainstream media. I mean, Vince Dow gave you examples of lies from Gavin Newsom. Wendy Bell gave you examples of lies from Hakeem Jeffries. And Benny Johnson, lies from good old Hillary. So that's what I do here. And these 4 videos are videos that I share on Murtec.com. Right here's the video from ACLJ Sekulow. Down here's the video from Benny Johnson that I shared with you. Right down here's the video from Vince Dow that I shared with you. And as I said, the video from that Wendy Bell dropped today was Pet Talk with Pet Doc, but I shared her video on Murtec.com that I shared with you in this video today. So, as I said, I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. This is your one-stop shop for information that you're not going to get from the mainstream media. Okay? So, with that being said, I do have a link to Murtec.com in the description box below. Go ahead and click on that. Come over here. There's a lot of great information. It's a free site. I don't ask for your name. I don't ask for your email address. I don't drop cookies on your computer and snatch your information and sell it to somebody else. I don't have a bunch of ads popping up in your face. I put this together strictly so that you can have a place to come to get current news. I update this site every day, multiple times a day, in fact, to get out the information to you so that, as I said, you're a one-stop shop. Okay? So I would like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately I don't have time to do that in this 1-hour podcast. In fact, I've gone over my normal hour already. So I do have a daily news wrap-up coming up of information. And the past few days or so, I've been sharing featured videos like from Barry Cunningham or Jovan Hutton Pulitzer or Tucker Carlson. But today I'm going to go back with my regular playlist of information that's dropped all day long from like Fox and Newsmax and Benny Johnson and Vince Dow and Devory Darkins. And great information. So I'm going to go ahead and break off here. You go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee and a donut or a sandwich and a soft drink, and meet me back here about 9:30. Give me time to go ahead and update my playlist some more and get my Rumble Studio set up for this information. And we'll go from there. Like I said, information that's been dropping all day long, so you'll have a chance to catch up on what's been going on. No nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Okay, but before we take off, I do want to share some more information here from Crypto.com. If you just take a short listen to this.
Let's be clear, cryptocurrency is no longer emerging, it's here. And this latest move cements that reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform.
They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there.
Want in on the action? Head to Crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again.
Okay, I just copied the chat box. People that have chatted today, I've just copied that into a comment because, as we all know, when this live stream goes away, then the chats just kind of evaporate into hyperspace. So I want to make that a permanent part of this video. So incidentally, that's how you make a comment. You just put some information here in this comment box where it says add a comment and click that comment button, and it just kind of creates a comment like magic. Let me do a quick refresh here on this. All right. And so far, I've had 111 people watch this today. I've got 37 people watching right now, and I've got 7 thumbs up. So, you know, if I could get 30 of you to slide down here and poke that thumbs up button, that would be absolutely fantastic. And with that being said, I do want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.